I did have somebody put a legitimate hit on me. They stole a surface-to-air missile out of a Army Reserve base thing, and they're going to blow up my house and kill my wife at the time and baby. Yeah, what the contract was, if you don't kill him, kill his wife and baby. That way, I had 3 legitimate contracts put on me. I didn't think you kill a prosecutor. I guess they tried.
People that pay taxes, get up, go to work, try to take care of their kids, they need somebody to protect them from motherfuckers like me.
If you ever fucking come near me in the rest of my life, we're going to have a big problem. Well, I came up in a very, very poor household. I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
On Christmas Day, I might add. And my father immediately went into the Air Force in the Korean War, and we moved way up north, 30 miles south of Canada. My children always say when I tell these stories, we would think there's Abraham Lincoln or something, because we had no indoor plumbing. So
you said what?
No indoor plumbing until I was about 5.5 years old. So, and this from 3 months old. We lived just south of Canada, real close on the border. And so it was a very loving growing up, but I grew up in a tavern. My grandparents owned a tavern up in Margie, Minnesota. And my mother and I stayed in the back of the tavern where they had some quarters. So my childhood was also another interesting point. We lived about 3 miles from a large Native American called Chippewa Indian reservation. 2,000, I think, were there. So most of the patrons at this bar that my grandparents owned were Chippewa. So my friends as a child, there were no other white kids. I grew up with Native American children, were my friends. I learned to speak some Chippewa, believe it or not. I spoke it pretty well. It's pretty easy to pick up a language when you're young. But there's only 2 words I remember.
What's that?
Now remember, I grew up in a bar. Shikababu and Nini Mouche. Shikababu, for any Chippewas out there, you know what that means. That means I'm drunk. Nini Mouche means I love you. Only thing I remember, and I spoke it just like English, and all my friends. So I guess in a way, it sort of tells a story about my future. I grew up with people of color. I mean, I didn't know about some other way to be. And so I know as I grew older, it affected me in a positive way because I never considered that, for being a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy from northern Minnesota. But those Chippewa, Native American. And then when I was young, my family decided, let's move where it's a little warmer. So we moved about 300 miles south, just outside of the Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I went to a very unusual school. At that time, the governor of Minnesota was a guy named Hubert Humphrey, who eventually became the vice president. We had this idea that he was going to debunk the idea that black people are mentally not as intelligent as white people. This is a true story. So they started a school called the Johnsville School. 24 students in each grade. There were 4 black students, 2 Native American students, and the rest were white. Okay, so I'm 2nd, 3rd grade. So of course, they did just as well as we did. I mean, the grades were all the same, everybody, except I'll say this much, they could outrun us any day of the week. Easy. They were more daring than we were. I would play marbles. I'll remember it. I mean, I thought I was good, man. And there was something athletic about it and these 2 black kids were my really close friends. And they'd whip my butt in this marbles, and they used to just, and I'd practice, and they'd still beat me. They beat me for my big puris and all that. So I had a perception that wasn't a perception. I had no perception. They're just us, right? And so sometime later, 4 or 5 later, my parents decided to move further south where they thought it might be warm, moved to Chicago, which is not warmer. And that's the first time I got a taste of, I guess we didn't call it that. In those days, we called it prejudice. Now it's called racism.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever was aware of that concept, And it was shocking to me, like, really? What's that mean? I heard words I hadn't heard before up northern Minnesota. My grandma would wash your mouth out with soap if you even said anything close to anything bad.
Yeah.
So I was pretty Christian, going to Christian schools. And it wasn't, my mother made me take piano lessons once we moved down there, so I didn't want to. But then 3 years later, I would see Stevie Wonder. I went to a movie and saw Stevie Wonder. I think I was 14 or 15 playing on the Beach Boy movie. And he was playing piano and singing and stuff. And I got an urge to want to play again. And I got enough money together and I bought a little organ. It cost me $340. And I called my friend and I said, hey man, you play guitar. See the Beatles and all this stuff? Why don't we put a band together? That's how it started. It was just that simplistic. Like, I love music, I love playing, and I always catered or directed my style more to R&B style.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, I mean, the songs we learned were, for example, Kansas City, Here I Come,
Mm-hmm.
Muddy Waters, they all did that. Everybody covered that too. Johnny B. Good, Roll Over Beethoven, Walking the Dog. That's the songs I learned as a 15-year-old. So that feeling stuck with me. I never changed that. And shortly thereafter, I started playing in bands that were blended. I don't know what you can say anymore. I'm so afraid to say words. But, there were artists of different nationality or ethnic groups. Primarily, I mean, like from my perspective, if I can say this, I think drummers and bass players black musicians are the best drummers and the best bass players, without question. I mean, I've learned that, and I don't know many people that argue that point because there's a certain feel, there's a certain rhythm, there's a certain laid backness about the way, it's not a rush. Rock musicians tend to rush. They're always on top of the beat. I always like being in the pocket, laying back, and the people know how to lay back. I mean, and so I always gravitated toward that style of music, and that's pretty much what I did. I spent some years in a straight rock and roll band, but even then, those guys were into R&B. I mean, we always were, And then eventually, the last musical endeavor I did was a band called Show Factor on Warner Brothers, and it was primarily a black group and me. I used to be. What's the word? I used to be so proud that they'd say, that's our blue-eyed soul brother, because that's a compliment, I mean, to play with some of these people coming from where I came from, that to me, I was impressed that they let me play with. I mean, I held my own, don't get me wrong, but it was something I was always fond of, much. And so, and that affected my life as I went on, because when I was in high school, my parents were going to let me quit. But I played all the time. And then I got ready to go to college, and there was a war called Vietnam. And if you didn't go to school, you got drafted.
Yeah.
So I stayed in school, but I never stopped playing. I mean, I toured, did the whole bit. And then by the time college was over, I was going to get drafted. And then I got lucky because there was a selective service had a drawing. They pick your name or number out of a thing. And depending on which, they pulled out, every birthday was in this big hopper. And they'd pull them out one at a time, and they'd put them on a board. So they'd say 1, 2, 3, and that might be April 1st. 2 might be March 27th. So if they said before, he said the first 180 dates we pull out, they're going to get drafted. So people are like, you talk about sweating.
Yeah.
You're sitting watching this on TV, and the guy's, it's like a lottery. It's called a lottery.
Yeah.
And I was 286. So they said, we're only going to 180. So I'm out. I don't have to worry about it now. And my friend in the band said to me, Gregg, we've been screwed so many times by our managers who have lawyers. You went to college. Why don't you take some law classes? I go, what are you, crazy? Law? What's that mean, law classes? And then he asked me again. And then I said, well, I'll look into it. So I did. And I took some tests, still in the band, and got accepted and went to law school. And when I started my first day, hair on my shoulders, braids in my hair, bell bottoms, platform. I mean, and these guys in the law school had on suits and ties on, buttoned up. And here's me, totally unique. I didn't care. I said to the dean, you know what? Dean, I have a question. Yes, Mr. Owen. He says to me, I say to him, I'm in a band. He goes, it's pretty obvious. Oh, okay. I said, but we tour mainly from June till January. We don't tour as much in the winter because we're here, you know, but we still play. I said, I want to go to school only every other semester. And then when I'm in school, I'll just play around the area, you know. And he said, okay. So it took me 5 years to go through law school, but I never stopped playing. I toured all over the country. And when I got done the last semester, you know, we heard so much stories about people having visions and you know, something comes to them out of nowhere. Well, I'm an example. I'm walking down the stairway, hair on my shoulders. I just had a breakup with a young woman that I was really fond of, and it really messed me up a little bit. Plus, I was questioning my ability. You know, I couldn't sing. And when you're a keyboard player and you can't sing, you're sort of dependent on other people. I mean, what do you do then?
Yeah.
We had gone to a piano bar with the band one night after a gig, and one of the guys in the band said, see, that'll be you in a few years. I go, no. Some old guy, you know, old playing piano. I said, no, I don't want to do that. And I didn't sing. So I was walking, it was a school, walking down the stairs, saw a bulletin board, which was all the time, but just full of opportunities. But I looked up at the far right-hand corner, and there was a little note that said, Cook County State's Attorney's Office will be in room 204. It would have been like the next day, Thursday, seeking candidates for intern or assistant state's attorney. I had never looked at that board in 5 years. Never. I had no intention of being a lawyer. And I looked at the board, and something inside me very clearly said, you better do that. I'm like, what was that? I looked again. It got louder. And I'd never done acid. I wasn't hallucinating. I took a deep breath, and then one more time, I just looked side to side, and then it said it again, and it said, if you don't, you're going to kill yourself. Now, you think about this. I've been in a band my whole life almost. Mm-hmm. I went immediately to a payphone, called my mother and said, Mom, it's like 3 p.m. You know the guy that cut your hair, Dino? Would you ask him if he could cut my hair tonight? My mother's like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? Because she couldn't, you know, what are you, all of a sudden? I said, no, I just got to do it. I got home, got my hair cut. She took me to the mall and got me a suit. I don't know if she thought I was all there or not, but I knew I was fine. And I went to this interview the next day. And the man said to me, what's your lucky day, Greg? I'm like, my lucky day? I don't even know what I'm doing here. You know, I'm just following something. And he said, there's a new Supreme Court rule that said if you're a senior law student last semester and you have good grades, you can go into a courtroom if you're supervised by a governmental agency and try cases like a regular lawyer. I had never even been in a courtroom, okay? Mm-hmm. Ever. My whole life. And this, I believe it was the Lord. Okay, I'm just going to be like, I don't care what anybody thinks about it because it was too powerful and it was too dramatic. You know, they say about changing overnight, that saying. Okay, it was Wednesday, late afternoon. The next day, I'm in front of this guy with shorter hair, and he tells me it's your lucky day. And I didn't know what that meant. So he said, can you start Monday afternoon? I did, okay. So I show up at this court facility, which it was so crowded. I mean, the building was just jammed with people. You could smell hot dogs. Everybody was smoking, yelling, swearing, you name it. I walked into this courtroom. I could hardly get in. It was so crowded. I go to the front. There's a young, real prosecutor. Says, here, are you the law student? I go, I guess, yeah. He goes, start calling all these names. Now, there's a judge sitting right there on the bench doing a trial. Mm-hmm. I said, what do you mean? He starts yelling. The judge doesn't even flinch. I mean, it was so crowded. They had to keep going, and they couldn't find people. So I started yelling names, and 2 weeks later, I quit the band, and I started there. I went there every day for 6 months and loved every minute of it. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was doing something positive. Now, remember this. I played in bands often with musicians of all different colors. So I walked in this job without any preconceived prejudice, nothing. That's just what I do, right? And come to find that courtroom I was working in at that time as a student would be considered the most corrupt courtroom in Chicago ever. And I was naive. But there were payouts going on. Eventually, You could see it, you know. Same lawyers were winning every case, and they were terrible lawyers. And so I took the bar exam, and the day I finished, the second day, I went for lunch, and it was downtown Chicago, and I heard sirens, a lot of sirens. I mean, more than usual, even for Chicago, coming from every direction. I didn't think much of it. I go back in, finish the bar exam, and I go home, and I see a newspaper article that says, contractor actors found slain in a paper box. I had no change, so I didn't take one. Pretty amazing. I didn't know what it was about. I went in the house, and my brother called me about a half hour later, and he goes, Gregg. I said, what's up, Jay? He goes, man, I'm so bummed out. I go, why? He said, my friend and his girlfriend got murdered. I go, where? He goes, I lived in the city. Not too far from where you live. I go, you're kidding. Tell me about it. And he started telling me. I go, wait a second. Was your friend like a contractor? Well, his father was. How about the girlfriend? Yeah, she just finished acting school. I said, I just saw the headline. That was your friend. I didn't know this guy. He says, yeah. I went out with his sister. I didn't know that. I was on tour. I never knew. My brother's 4 years younger. So I left the next day to go to L.A. to hang out for 2 months with my band that I used to be in that was doing an album for Mercury Records. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, long story short, 4 years later, I prosecute that double murder case. The case involved a 24-year-old at the time, rich, ultra rich, real rich kid, prominent family, who butchered two of his friends, stabbed them to death, and left them for dead in her apartment.
The rich kid is the one who...
Is the bad guy. He's the killer. Everybody, though, nobody was poor in this case. They lived in a nice area in Chicago, right off the lake.
Yeah.
The girlfriend did. And so the case itself had a lot of super strange things occur that I had never heard of. Now I'm working at 26 in California, which is the criminal court building in Chicago. I get a call in late November of 79. I've been there about 3.5, 4 years. And the call is from my brother. And he goes, Gregg, would you do me a favor? He said, you know my friend's murder case? I go, yeah, I don't remember that. So what happened? He goes, oh.
This is before you dealt with it.
Yes.
So we go, okay.
I didn't even know what ever happened to it.
Gotcha.
You know, I'd already tried 41 murder jury trials within 3.5 years. I mean,
you said you had tried already. It by then?
By then.
Okay.
We were on trial every single month. I mean, there was no...
Okay.
I mean, if you took a vacation, people looked at you like, what are you, nuts? We can't take vacations. It was that's how much crime. We had the highest crime rate in Chicago, murder rate, 891 that went in 1980. And so it was so bad, and there was only 36 of us out of 800 doing murder cases. So I had extensive experience at a very young age, very, very young age. So what happened was, he said to me, could you just look into it and see what happened? I said, sure. So I made some calls, and it wasn't assigned to where I was, and that's where all the murder cases were. I find out it's assigned to a court building that never, to this day, ever had a murder case. I also find out that this guy that killed 2 people was out on bond. Who gets a bond on a double murder? I don't care what it is. And it was a low bond. How did he do that? How did he get a low bond on a double murder? Yes. And not only that, how did he get the case assigned to a court facility that never had murder cases in front of a judge who was close friends with his lawyer? How do you work that out? Now, these are the things I'm finding out after the fact. So I go downtown. I find the prosecutor works in this one courtroom. I go, hey, Sandy, I'm looking for a file. He goes, well, what is it? I tell him, he goes, Gregg, do yourself a big favor. He goes, I'm going to tell you, me, he said, I wouldn't touch that case with a 10-foot pole. What's the problem? He goes, it's poison.
Yeah.
It is so corrupt. He says, the eyewitness is now taking the 5th. He won't even testify. We got a letter from his lawyer. The evidence, there was some evidence seized at the defendant's house after the murders. And guess what? The judge said we couldn't use it. And then when we appealed the judge and the appellate court said we could, between then and now, the evidence disappeared out of the evidence locker. It's all gone. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, that's right. He said, so there's no case. So I said, well, let me just look at it, just for the sake of my brother. So he starts looking for it in the file cabinets. He can't find it. He goes on his hands and knees like this, and he's looking under a desk, and he pulls this folder out of the desk. It's a mess. I said, well, let me look at it. He goes, good luck. Good luck. Remember I told you? I said, fine, Sandy. So I opened it. I'd see this picture of this kid, 24 years old time, and I see where he lives. Now understand that we were dealing with so much corruption on a daily basis. We would have to plan trials based on corruption. Okay, how can we get around this if they bribe this person? What do we do if this?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we were thinking. I mean, I'm 27, 28, and I'm thinking about how do I win a murder case when everybody's being paid off? So what happened was, I'm like, oh my gosh. But when I looked at the case, and all of us were fed up with this corruption. It was so bad, it was disgusting. Okay. I said, this is it, man. I don't care what. I'm going to get this. We're going to take this case. I called my partner, Mike. I said, this case sucks, Mike. We're going to lose it, but at least we'll get a trial. He goes, fine, man. I'll take it with you. So he took this case, and the book that we wrote called Convergence is about what it took to go from the day my brother called to actually get this in front of a jury.
There's an audio version too.
What?
I said there's an audio version too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And in the audio version, I actually give my actual closing argument that I gave right from the transcript. So, people, a lot of true crime books, they know who did it or this and that. This wasn't the way it was. Of course they knew who did it. What was weird about it was how long it took to get it to go to trial.
Yeah.
And why it took so long and what we had to go through. People say, people tell me, Convergence is a true crime story, and it is. But I think it's more a book about perseverance. I mean, Mike and I had no witness, no evidence. Judges had almost destroyed the case, but we said, I don't care. Yeah. We're gonna try to fix it. We're gonna try to make it right, and we did. The point is, obstacles don't mean defeat, and yet people have to learn that. Yeah. Just because the odds are against you doesn't mean you're going to lose. And a lot of people give up.
What was your motivation in actually going through this case when all the odds was against you?
Because, well, first of all, the fact that I'm staring at this guy and he's going to think he's going to walk in a double murder, stabbing two of his friends to death in front of a witness, and he's just going to walk free because he's paying people? No way, man. If nothing else, we never approach it like we would win for sure. We just said, at least we're going to give the victims a voice. People forget the victims. I mean, I walk in to look for the court file. The first thing that Sandy said to me was, well, Gregg, not only is it poison, but you know what? They're all a bunch of drug addicts anyway. Now, listen, think of this. I'm from a band. You don't think I've been around people doing drugs? Do you think I thought you should be executed because you had a party? That's how people thought then. They thought if you got high, so you get killed. Like prostitutes or women of the street. Like if they get killed, it's too bad, it's their fault. Who thinks like that? That's how people thought. You
didn't have like crazy amounts of money then. They had more money than you. So what would make you go against people like that with money? And was it some scary stuff happening towards you around that time?
Yep. Well, that was the point, I think. Oh, really? You think you're going to buy your way out of this thing? No way, man. And it was like, they say character isn't revealed when life is easy. It's revealed when doing the right thing can cost you. And that's how we felt. I mean, we were not going to compromise what we believed in. That's just the kind of guys we were as a team. And it stood as a challenge against corruption. And we all wanted to do something about it. But here was an opportunity, at least possibly get a trial. Because they were going to throw it out. There was going to be no trial.
Did you receive threats and stuff?
Yes.
Like that? Yeah. What kind of threats were you receiving?
Well, the biggest thing I received was the night before my closing argument. We were finishing up for the day. Next day was the arguments in the morning. I get a call from a former classmate and a guy that used to work in our office. Like 10 calls. I get to my office, there's all these pink notes. Urgent. I'm like, what's so urgent? So I call him up and I say, hey, I'm not going to say his name. let's just say Frank for a name.
go with
Hey,
Frank.
Frank, what's up? He goes, man, I got to see you. It's really important. It involves your case. I go, well, just tell me. No. It's got to be in person. Well, the guy was so persistent. I'm like, oh, what a pain. He says, meet me at Gino's Eats. It's a pizza place in Chicago. So I do. And I walk in. He's sitting in a little booth. He's got a duffel bag next to him. And he's, oh, Greg, how you been, man? You know, I had a nickname called Disco, D-A, for some stupid, Disco. And I said, yeah, what's up, my man? I'm sort of got to get finished getting ready for this argument. It's about 7 o'clock. He said to me, you know, you're prosecuting the wrong guy. I'm looking at him like, yes, what? He goes, yeah, you are. He goes, I know the defendant. And he's a good people, man. And I go, no, he's not. He's a double murderer. Oh, no. And he's arguing with me out of nowhere. And he goes, well, let me put it this way. His family is very appreciative of people who do the right thing. He takes his duffel bag, he lifts it off the seat, he unzips it, and there's $100 bills in wrappers, and it was just packed with them. And he's holding like this. I'm like, I'm like dumbfounded. And he goes, there's $50,000 here. It's all yours. He zips it back. He goes, all you got to do is tone down your closing argument. I was sort of known for closing arguments back in the day. Uh-huh. And I looked forward to him. And I stared at him for a second, and I said, F, apostrophe.
No, you can say it.
I said, fuck, man. I said, fuck you, man.
My man.
I'm going to tell you what I said to him. I said, if you ever fucking come near me in the rest of my life, we're going to have a big problem. And he sat there like, what's wrong, man? I said, you know what? To think that you thought I might take this fucking money. Are you sick? Where did you come up with that? I mean, I was more insulted that he thought I might take it than he even offered it. So I left and went to payphone, called my partner. We called our boss. We reported the whole thing, you know. And then whatever happened then happened. I mean, I'm out of it now. I mean, I got to do a closing argument the next day. But that's how desperate they got. Because they realized, and they had 3 of the best criminal lawyers. They had the dream team at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, their 3 lawyers combined had 98 years experience. My partner and I had a total of 9.
I know they had to have it out for you after that then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's another little sidelight that's sort of amusing. Yeah. When I was in law school, I had the long hair. So my second year, last semester, one of my classmates says, you know what? You should take Sherman Magidson, he's a professor, trial technique, trial advocacy, how to try a case. Mm-hmm. He said, because he only gives, worst grade is a B. Sounds good to me. So I take the class. Again, everybody's got suits and ties. I got long hair and the whole regalia. Mm-hmm. I go through the course. I thought I did okay, you know. Gets to the last day. He hands everybody their grade on a sheet of paper, fold it over it, and you walk out, and that's the end of it. But he said to me, Greg, could you stay over for a second? Okay, you know. He goes, I'm sitting at a desk like this. He takes another desk, he brings it so he's facing me, you know, his knees are almost touching mine. And he reaches over and puts his hand on my shoulder, like cross. And he goes, I'm going to give you some good advice, like a dad or something, you know. He said, I got your grade right here. It's the lowest grade I've ever given. He goes, you should have got a D, but I gave you a C minus because you do not have what it takes to be a trial lawyer. You don't have the charisma. You don't have the style. You don't have the posture. He went out a litany. I'm like 23, 24 years old. I didn't really want to be a lawyer anyway, but it was still insulting. I mean, you know. And he goes, so if you become a lawyer, just be a corporate lawyer. Don't ever go to court. Well, he was the lawyer that led that defense team that my partner and I went up against. And we took him down 2 hours. The jury came back guilty. Quick. So when we were all done, and the jury left the courtroom, he stands up, and we happened to cross paths, and there were some reporters there. And I said, hey, Mr. Magidson, not bad for a C-minus student, huh? So I got my day, comebacks of bitch, as they say. Mm-hmm. I mean, I never lost a case. I mean, and here's a guy telling me, that's what I'm saying. Don't let people affect how you run your life. He told me this is an expert telling me that I should never do this. Right. Mm. I mean, and like I said, I didn't plan it. But once I got into it, I mean, the good Lord gave me the talent. Yeah. I mean, there's no question about it because I never craved for it, didn't necessarily want to do it.
Yeah.
but I did.
I want to go back a little, give further context to the way you look at things when you're trying things. So when you came from, what was it, Minnesota or Canada? Which part you said?
I lived south of Canada, and we lived near the Minneapolis, St. Paul.
When you got to Chicago, it was a shock for you because of the racism.
Oh.
Because of where you come from, there was
none.
You was amongst people of color.
Yeah, all the time.
So when you get here, when you get to Chicago and see that, talk about some of the things you had to go through, especially being a white man, being accepting to people of color, black people, Mexicans, and all of that stuff. Like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was about 12, 13 the first time I heard the N-word, so to speak. You know what I mean? I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what's that? Of course, my white friend's like, what are you, stupid, and this and that? I go, why? Nobody an explanation. That's just the way it is, But, when you're raised knowing that's not how it is, I never went into it. I never fell prey to that. And of course, when I got into music, it never was an issue. He's a drummer. He's a bass player. He's a keyboard player. He's a sax player. I don't care what color he is. It never even crossed my mind. We don't care about that. So when I became a prosecutor, Chicago was very divided. It was pretty, back in those days. And I don't want to say I took heat for it, but I can say this. There was not a policy, but sort of an unspoken, when you select a jury, try to keep as many black people off the jury as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the absolute most stupid thing. I don't care racism or not. It's ignorant. And I'll tell you why. One of the guys I played in the band with, his name was Reuben Locke. I loved Reuben. He was a great drummer. And I would stay at his house. His mom, his dad was named Reuben, and his dad was a bus driver. And bus drivers, I've found, are the most down-to-earth, don't want crime, get sick of people giving them a hard time when they're driving their bus in any neighborhood. They're not about color. They're about, leave me alone, let me drive my bus. So so I told my one case, this one partner, and I said, first of all, I don't care what color, but he's a bus driver too. Oh, I said, are you stupid? Have you ever lived around black people? Do you know what it's like? Do you know what it's like to teach high school in a black community based on what they have to put up with? They're not against, they're for law and order. They want things to be controlled. And I said, there's no way. We're stupid. And I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. They call that the, like using your peremptory challenges to eliminate races, which is the dumbest thing you could do. There's those people in those communities are probably more against crime than us kids out in the suburbs that have never even seen crime. And I knew that right away, because to think that you just exclude people. Mm-hmm. And that was where, once I was told, a supervisor came up to see us on trial. And there were 2 or 3 black people in the jury, When I left, I was told this: you better win that case. You better win that case. As if, if I don't, then what? So it changed. Don't get me wrong. Within my office, 2 years older or younger made a big difference. So as younger people were coming in after me, they didn't come with that attitude. Yeah. And then there was an actual Supreme Court case that said you can't do that. Batson, you can't just. And I never even considered it, because I thought it was stupid too, racist and stupid.
I want to go to the Chicago ghetto community and all of that stuff. Obviously, we don't have access to, before the white people bring it to us, or whether the drugs and the alcohol, putting the stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Putting the stuff in the hood. And I want to know how you looked at that. And, we dealing with poverty and all of that too. So the positions you put in to have to make money or whatever, and some can't get jobs, or, How did you look at that? I looked at it as if people had no hope. There was no hope. You're living in a community where there aren't jobs that really mean anything.
and how do you get them? You know, the unions were all pretty much one race. And so the opportunities weren't there. And when you're a young person, I became a gang prosecutor. In fact, I became the first chief of gang prosecutor. And I really learned even more then is that who are the idols? You know, who do you look up to? Who's got the nice car? Who's got the nice stuff? The drug dealers. You know, so who other idols do you have? I mean, unless you play basketball really well or some sports, what's your escape? It's not easy. And you got a lot of women who are single parents and they're trying to work their job and take care of their family, and they got these young boys, and who are they looking up to?
Yeah.
Because there's nobody else, you know. And you know, when you appreciate what the situation is, it makes it somewhat not easy, but you understand what you're dealing with, okay? And I think that's why in this convergence case, I see this white kid, man, multimillionaire at every opportunity in the world, could have, and he's in a wire from a double murder, and all these other people who can't afford a great attorney, they may not even be guilty, but what are their chances are? And it was just one of those situations. I just said, I've had enough. I can't deal with this. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I approached it from a totally different way because I wasn't raised. I mean, I was like someone was dropped from somewhere else into this system because I didn't come from the background that most of these people did.
Yeah.
You know? It was a unique experience.
So, you come from the era like Larry Hoover and all of them, right?
I met Larry Hoover.
You did? What was that like?
He was cool. I mean, here's what happened. When I became the head of the gang unit, on the west side of Chicago and Cabrini Green and West, there were two prevalent gangs, the Gangster Disciples and the Vice Lords. And they were at serious war. Now, the problem that created a lot of heat was a lot of gang members aren't good shots. They'll be running down an alley, pointing a gun behind them and shooting at the people chasing them. And guess what? A lot of people get shot that aren't part of any of this. And that's what was happening, okay? A lot of people innocent people were getting shot. So my boss at the time said to me, why don't you see if you can talk to Larry Hoover and Willie Lloyd? Willie Lloyd ran the Vice Lords. Hoover was the Gangster Disciples. So I did. So I went to prison, met him. He was cool. I said, man, you know, here's what I said to him. I said, you know, I'm out here trying to get things under control and get the bad guys off the street and the killers. I said, but you know what? You have more control than me. You and Willie Lloyd do. I said, because you could tell these people to cool a little bit and quit shooting people innocently and be at least be controlled the way you approach. You're supposed to be a community group. That's how they, you know. And he said, okay, man, I'll see what I could do. I went with Willie Lloyd. And, you know, for 9 months, the crime went down. And it erupted again. But, I mean, it worked. I mean, it's just because nobody's willing to approach people as people, you know. He was Larry Hoover, and I knew who he was. I mean, he ran it from the prison. I mean, there's no question about it. And because then I knew he did, and we were understood that he would have the ability, if he so chose, lay back here, cool it. And innocent people getting murdered went down dramatically in that area of the city.
Have you paid attention much to what goes on in the news as far as the gang banging now? Like, what's going on in the streets with the, you know, King Vons and, well, that didn't really happen in Chicago, but.
Like the old block in Chicago.
The old block and all of that. When you compare the two eras, like this era versus that era, like where did it get worse?
It's completely different. And I'll tell you why. The fact that I was able to talk to two men and get the violence down, that's impossible today. There's no two men running anything, see. And the reason that happened, in my opinion, when they tore down Cabrini Green and the Robert Taylor homes in Chicago, there were gang members, many living in those buildings. They controlled the buildings. But when you tear something down, where do you send the people? Where do they go now? Or now what? What did you just do? So people that would live like in a certain building, which was there was black disciples and black gangs, certainly they're different, you know. They might move to a home on the south side where the opposition gang was across the street. That's what you've got now. You've got one block there's a gang, next block there's a gang, all remnants of the past. Whereas when you had leaders, Jeff Fort, who was the El Rukins, he could control what was going on. I mean, it wasn't much different than the mafia one time. I mean, and when you, it's funny though, when you break these things apart, you've got these little satellites, and there's no control. I mean, I'm not certain, but I think that more communicating with the leadership at the time would have worked better than the way they did it. That's just my opinion.
How was it with the mafia back then too?
Drug dealing in Chicago, or the drug distribution at the time, they didn't have very much power. I mean, they had some, but I mean, when you get the El Rukins and these gangs, they're in charge. They took over. I mean, they really control. I mean, the mafia might have some inroads with what's going on in Colombia or wherever it's coming from, but as far as they took over. I mean, that's who was running it for sure. At least as far as we knew.
Yeah, can you get into the royal family or?
Yeah, royal family.
Yeah.
You heard of royal family?
Say again?
You heard of royal family?
Yeah, that one, and then because I do my research ahead of time as well. The royal family, and then I believe it was Murray
Hooper.
Hooper,
yeah. It was definitely the royal family. That was the biggest case I've ever tried before or since.
Okay,
and the royal family, the Tribune wrote an article about them, full page. The leader's name was Roger Collins, Cochise, also known as the chief. They were like between, say, 35 and 40. They weren't kids. They had all been members of various gangs, and they had served a lot of time in prison, many, many years. And while they were in prison, they met some members of the Chicago mob. And the plan was put together that when they got out, they would form their own organization and become a professional hit squad across the country for the mob. And why would they do that? Money. But no one would ever link these black guys to the Italian mob. You never heard of such. They would think, you never heard of this. Well, they thought it through. And so that's what they became. They became, not only did they control drug traffic and the drug dealers, they also, on different times of the day or week, they'd go out and commit hits across the country. And the newspaper did a story, and the headline was, "The royal family are the kings of killing." So my next book is called Pursuing Kings, because that was a case that got dropped in my lap the first day I became chief of gang prosecutions. It was the biggest case ever to this day. No case has ever been bigger than that one, except for John Wayne Gacy. I mean, these guys were responsible for well over 100 executions or whatever. And it was a business. They knew it well. And they messed up on one case pretty bad. They got caught. So it wasn't fun going after them. We had a flipper who was a driver on a triple. And when these guys were shotgun gang drug dealers. And the flipper, I turned him into a witness for us. They tried to kill him in the witness protection. That's how much power they had. Because they had mob. See, because they were so mobbed up too, in a way, the mob wanted to protect them also, because that was they were doing a good job for them, you know. And then they went and did a double murder in Arizona, my contract, and that was their undoing. In that particular case, they were trying to, the mob in Chicago, Joe Ferriola and some other names were listed as possible. They were relatives of one of the guys in Arizona that contracted the royal family. They went to this house and they were going to take out the owner of the household because he owned a printing company that the mob wanted to buy so they could start printing chips and counterfeit money to go to Las Vegas, which is pretty close, you know. And he and his partner was all for selling, but not him. So he said, we'll take him out. So they go out to do it. Now there's three of them, a Phoenix police officer, and Murray Hooper and William Bracy, members of the royal family. They show up on New Year's Eve at these people's house about 8 o'clock. They go get in. They tie everybody up, put them on a bed, put stocks in their pocket, in their mouth, duct tape them, hog tie them, and then they shoot the man twice in the head, slit his throat. His wife's mother was in town from Iowa visiting. She was 72. They shot her twice in the head. Murray Hooper had a 5-shot Smith & 38. Problem. He shot the wife in the back of the head, but it didn't transverse up. It transfers down. Mr. Carotid artery, I mean, this is a miracle. Mr. Spinal cords, they left. She comes to. She's drowning on her own blood because of the sock. But there was so much blood on it, she pushed her tongue and able to get the blood to come out. The woman had the wherewithal, being shot in the neck, to roll off the bed down the hallway, all duct tape. The people that were coming to their New Year's Eve party are pounding on the door. Nobody's answering. They look and they see her on the floor. She survives. And more than that, they didn't wear masks. One thing I tell people, if somebody's in there robbing your house at a home invasion, not wearing masks, the odds are pretty good you're probably going to get killed. Yeah. Because if they're not hiding their identity, they don't want to leave witnesses. They screwed up in that one. She was able to ID him eventually, which really turned the case. And then there was the flipper in Chicago. There was a young woman named Laverne Lyles. She was 19 years old when I met her. She had already had 5 children, which is sad. I mean, living by herself.
Yeah.
And she had seen the night of a triple murder in Chicago. She had seen the royal family guys leading 3 men that were hands tied behind their back and get into a car. She had seen our flipper, the witness who was the driver, and the 3 gang members. And after this all went down, she had anonymously called the police. She says, I gotta get my kids out of this neighborhood. I got to tell you something I had, but you got to promise me I can move. So I talked to her, and we move her. We move her witness protection program. She testified she saw him leaving. We don't have anybody except for the driver, the car, the flipper. So flipper, change the sides. Yeah, that's what it is. He's the only person that actually could testify that they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So we put him in witness protection. He almost got killed in that. Then we had to move him to federal witness protection. So it was never a dull moment. And I'm back and forth to Arizona, but the woman that survived came to Chicago. I ID'd them as the ones in Phoenix. I mean, it was pretty scary and pretty. The witnesses, like the flipper, the guy that was on our turn sides.
Gotcha.
His name was Morris Nellum, M-O-R. He had a twin brother named Norris Nellum. Now, Norris was a member of the royal family. And so Morris, who was born like 2 minutes later, he was known as Twin, on the street. Mm. He wasn't, because Norris was the cool guy. Well, we had to move Norris out of Illinois to another prison in another state because we had to move his family in Texas. Everybody had to be relocated because they definitely would have taken somebody out, his girlfriend. So that was another thing, just dealing with that. We're not the feds. The feds, we don't do this, but we had to learn real quick. The feds weren't going to help us. It's funny how they don't get involved when they don't want to. Except for eventually they did when we begged almost. This guy's going to get killed if we don't. We can't protect him that way that you guys can. So that was pretty bad. They were all tried and all sentenced to death. All of them, both cases.
You don't be scared in these moments when you're doing this?
No, I mean, first of all, it's unlike some countries. Usually, you don't kill the prosecutor. Now, I had it happen to me. I did have somebody put a legitimate hit on me. Mm. They stole a surface-to-air missile out of a Army Reserve base thing, and they're going to blow up my house and kill my wife at the time and baby. So, I mean, that sort of shook me up because they recovered that missile and the launcher. So it wasn't just talk. And that was testified to in a courtroom by a witness that was present when they had my address, knew where I lived. My wife and my child had to go live in San Diego for 6 months. I'm holed up with the police in a hotel, which I hated. That sucked. But, it's like you're in war, I mean, my boss from Daily had said, we're declared war on gangs. Well, what you don't realize when you say those kind of things, the other side goes, oh, really? You declare war on us? Well, guess what? It's a war, then we're going to fight it like a war. That was a mistake. He shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, Rich. That wasn't a good way to approach what we were doing.
Yeah.
And there was posters everywhere. War on gangs. Said, are you just a sheep? Are you a follower? I mean, really caustic comments. And they were printed in all the high schools. So, yeah, it wasn't it wasn't the way, I'm just taking orders and, okay, that's what you're doing. So, yeah, that way I had 3 legitimate contracts put on me. And I never dealt with that. I didn't think you killed a prosecutor. I guess they tried. They took it serious. Contract was, if you don't kill him, kill his wife and baby.
Yeah.
And so he happened to be the leader of this gang, was a Latin gang, Spanish Cobras. He had been in a hospital because he was having a problem in prison. And he was laying in the bed next to an armed robber who had a problem. Well, for some reason, the prison officials let this guy's gang of members into his hospital room next to this guy. And he heard, the guy next door heard him planning this hit in great detail. So he contacted the authorities when he got out of the hospital. And quote, unquote, when he talked to me, he goes, man, I didn't give a shit if they kill your ass, but that ain't right, killing your wife and baby.
Yeah.
That's exactly how he said it.
I don't give a shit if they kill your ass.
I mean, that's what he said. I don't care. I mean,
yeah.
That's your problem, but not your wife and baby.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty honorable, to be honest with you. I mean, that tells you something, And he testified in court. There's newspaper stories about it. Right? Just said it just like that.
But what was your wife's reaction towards you, though? Was she like, hey, bro, you got to get up out of
I don't know. She was pretty strong, They moved out witness protection in California for a few months. But I don't know. I mean, she took it better than I thought. We changed their name. We gave her a different last name than mine. And any utilities were not in my name. Like my son to this day doesn't have social media account. Because he got the same name as me. He didn't want somebody to get confused. I'm not concerned about it any longer.
Yeah.
I mean, as old as I am, almost everybody I prosecute was as old, if not older, and they're gone. Or I just don't think. I mean, here's the thing: we weren't framing people. I mean, when you frame people, then somebody's got a reason to come back at you. When you're doing what they know they did wrong, eventually they'd get over you, because it's not like you made it up. You make it up, you may be making your own bed too. Oh, that's a different story. So I think when you can live your life knowing you did the right thing and you did not cross that line, I don't worry about it. I really don't.
And when you talk about corruption in that system, what's the worst way you've seen something tried? Or
well, I sat in a courtroom as a judge. First of all, in the criminal court system, as some people can tell you, if a defendant takes a bench trial, that's a little weird, because judges know bullshit. You can't pull the wool normally, unless the judge is corrupt, over a judge's eyes, right? They see what's, juries you can play with a little bit, but not judges. So when a defendant takes a bench trial, you're like, well, it's a little weird. Well, in this case, I was a witness to it. I was there. I was just in the courtroom. There was a hitman named Harry Ailman. He was the number one hitman for the mob at the time. Number one guy. He had killed a union, the head of a union.
Yeah.
That they shot him right outside his house in the morning. There were 2 eyewitnesses who were just, one guy was walking his dog and somebody was out getting their milk. They used to deliver your milk by your porch, getting their milk. They saw the whole thing. They told the police. They testified, but he took a bench trial. And the judge got up there and said, not guilty. We're like, not guilty. Then we found out later, the judge took 10 grand and he eventually shot himself, committed suicide. when the feds were just about to get him. It came out. You know, normally when you have a not guilty, that's jeopardy, right? It's the first time I think in history that a person found not guilty, the courts ruled, no, we could try him again because the first one wasn't legit.
Okay.
They basically proved the judge took money. They had the guy that paid him. So they retried him. He got life. Same, but years later. I think 15 years later. So that was pretty raunchy corruption that we all knew.
Is that what ultimately made you get away from prosecuting?
I never encountered, and I'm not taking sides here, I never encountered at the time a corrupt prosecutor. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying whether there was or there wasn't. I never, and I honestly can say that to the good Lord, never once. So no, I got out of it because, for the first reason was because you can't make a living, and not then. The pay was so bad. I mean, it was the greatest experience on earth. I mean, I tried 64 felony jury trials, 62 were murders by the age of 33. That's pretty good. That's a lot of experience quickly. Yeah. So usually the only path was go to become a criminal defense attorney, which I did for a while. I just didn't like it. I never wanted to be a lawyer anyway. I mean, the prosecution was just, I thought we were doing the right thing and I was speaking for victims, you know. I mean, if I had just run around doing shoplifting cases all day, I would have left a lot sooner than that. But this was something I felt made a difference, you know, and we weren't framing people and making up evidence and hiding evidence. I couldn't live with myself if I did that. I mean, we represent supposedly justice. And that's a nice word to use, but in our case, we really did think that way. So I got back in the music business, and then I got back into some other unrelated businesses and did very well. So I never, I enjoy watching sometimes these live TV shows, movies, not movies, trials on TV. And I only watch them to see the skill of the attorneys, the attitude of a judge. But, you know, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they really suck. So it just depends on the case.
Yeah. Mentally, do that get overwhelming though? The amount of murders you gotta. Yeah.
I'll tell you when it really first time it hit me roundabout. I was having lunch. I had been doing these for like 8 years. I was running the gang unit, you know, and tried all these murder cases. And I was going over a case, and there was pictures of a young woman and her friend who had been shot by a rival gang. They weren't gang members, and part of her head was missing, you know. And I'm looking for clues at the crime scene where she was to help. Maybe sometimes you find things in pictures. It's hard to, you know, the angles. And I was having lunch in the lunchroom where the courthouse was. And I'm sitting right here, and I got my file, and I got these pictures, and I ordered some food, you know, and I'm just got their 8x10 color right here. Woman walks up and screams and drops the plate of food on the floor. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're looking at that while you're having lunch." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" Didn't even affect me. See, I mean, I would look at gore, and I only looked at it as evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think about the people, but at that moment, that was evidence, you know. And that's what struck me, like you've lost your sensitivity to everything. I mean, made me think maybe you should do something different for a while, because, I mean, I was hardcore too, you know.
So even like death in your family and stuff, it really didn't get to you at that.
Well, I was, I would come home and I'd still have cases on my mind. You know what I mean? And I know their mother would say I would pace downstairs at nights, you know, thinking about cases. And the more I did that, the more I don't want to say I was losing a sense of reality. I was losing a sense of humanity, because it was just give the victims a voice, get the bad guy, you know, and how are we going to do it? And I'm going to do everything I can to do it. And so I became obsessed with it. I mean, it was like I was a crusader, you know, and you can't do that. You get too deep, you lose your objectivity. And that's bad too. So, and I think I still had it, but I'm pretty sure I got out at the right time.
Okay. I wonder how'd you look at the Menendez brother trial?
In what respect? That I thought it was a joke. I said, like I told my daughter, I said, you can make all you want about dad abused them, so they shot that. Why'd they shoot mom?
Mm-hmm.
What's the excuse for shooting mom? Oh, because she didn't want to live without her husband? That's an excuse to kill her? I think if they wouldn't have killed her, they would have had a better shot at their defense.
Yeah.
Mom takes it off the table. You don't have a defense. You can do what you think about dad. No reason to shoot mom.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
All right. That just randomly popped in my head.
Do you remember some of the details of the John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very well.
Touch on some of that?
Very, very well. I was at I think just before Christmas, 1978, I was at it. We were having a 26th Street prosecutor dinner, for Christmas. And my boss was Bill Kunkel, who became the prosecutor of John Gacy. And he was sitting next to me, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody comes up to me and says, Mr. Kunkel, you got a phone call. So he leaves, he was a boss, He comes back and this guy liked food. I mean, this man loved food.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't hardly eat anything. So he says, I got to go. I go, what's up? He goes, they found a bunch of bodies in a basement. That's all I heard at the time. I'm like, what? And I eventually went into the house after they tore the floor up back in the day. I was there in Somerdale, suburbs of Chicago. And during the course of that case, I was very close to Bill Kunkel, very close. I walked into court one day when the jury was out of the courtroom. And I just wanted to drop a message off to him. And Gacy was sitting in a chair, like maybe a little closer than you are. And you could feel evil. I'd never felt evil before. I felt evil. I mean, this guy was frightening just to be, the aura was there. You could just feel this horrible, and it radiated. And I was young, blonde haired, and he's like, smiled at me. I said, oh, I almost threw up. Like he's smirking at me as I'm talking to my boss. Evil. That was scary. Never went back into that courtroom after that. Not even the way, I just couldn't be around the guy.
Yeah.
And most people felt that way about him. It was a terrible feeling.
Was it something you had to do to get just in case you ran into something like that again? Did you have to prep yourself to be able to?
Yeah. I mean, Roger Collins, the leader of the royal family, he was so cool. He was suave. He was smart. He was calculated, but he was pure evil. But he was a gentleman. Good morning, Mr. Owen. And I know that guy would take me out and shoot me in 1 second. One time, during the course of the trial, I had gone to the lockup to talk to some other person, and he was there. I had never heard the expression before, so maybe I was stupid. He goes, hey, Mr. Owen. This guy was built, too. He was like rocky, but a lot taller, perfect condition. I walk over and say, hey, what's that, Roger? He says, you keep fucking with us, and we may put some red rum on your ass. What's that mean? Red rum. It's murder, I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I go out and tell somebody, what about calling to a red rum on my ass? That wasn't fun, man. When I realized what he said, I'm like, ooh.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a little eye-opening.
It got to be like something to be the man in the streets, run the streets, even run a lot of the people in law and stuff, and then lose to a blonde-haired ex-rock star.
Blonde or blue-eyed, too.
Blonde or blue-haired.
Even worse. Yeah.
It gotta fuck them up. Like,
man, are you kidding me?
Murdering people and like
still
this
like
dude.
a sore thumb down there, man. He said it as calm as he could too. He just leaned like this. He goes. He says that. Hey, Mr. Owen, you keep fucking with us the way you are. We might put some red rum on your ass. I'm thinking, was they going to pour something in my ass or something? Some red rum or something? I mean, that's how stupid I was.
Mm.
So I went outside and said, hey, man, he put it. I didn't say anything to nobody. I mean, that's being an asshole too. So if it's what he said, fine. That's what he said.
You didn't get yourself into any training as far as like self-defense or anything?
Yes, they did. They put me through a course in firing a handgun, 3 weeks. So I was packing most of the time.
Okay.
And they gave me a special place to park in the back. But, guns are bullshit too. If somebody comes on, you don't have time to grab your gun. I mean, you're done. And I knew that. I had a police radio in the car back in those days. See, we didn't have any cell phones, no car phone, none of that stuff. I guess it just made me, maybe it just made me feel better because it wouldn't have done anything if something would have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did. They trained me.
Oh, yeah. One more thing before we do that. For those of us who don't know, can you explain to us the different levels of prosecution?
Different levels?
Yeah.
Well, basically, there's two types of prosecution, okay? One's called vertical prosecution and one's called horizontal. And what it means is this, in felonies, for example, a person gets arrested for a felony. At that point, like in Illinois, a prosecutor is called and he determines whether or not there's sufficient evidence to charge a felony. It's called a felony review assistant, newer guys. Then after that, the case gets assigned to a bond judge. There's a different state attorney. Then after the bond judge, it goes for a preliminary hearing. Different judge, different prosecutor, different level. After the preliminary hearing, if there's probable cause, it's sent to the grand jury, the guy's indicted. Now it gets assigned to a felony trial courtroom. And once it's there, there's usually, at least in my case, there were 3 prosecutors per courtroom. One was the boss, it's like a pilot, co-pilot, and flight engineer. And that case would be assigned to that courtroom. Now those prosecutors get rotated in and out. So when the day a case gets charged, felony review, there's 1, 2, 3. There could be 6 or 7 different prosecutors who have that case before they go to trial. So you're not as familiar as the one in the beginning was because you weren't there. Vertical prosecution, like we had in the gang unit, the minute that crime is committed, there's arrest made, somebody from my unit shows up and they stay with that case from beginning to end. They try the case, they do the preliminary hearing, they question the witnesses, they do everything. Far more effective. Yeah. But there's not the manpower for every department to have that. But that's how we did it then.
And you obviously got to get your chops and stuff too. So you had to be a public defender at a point, right? No, you didn't have to go to.
Nope. Start right out as a prosecutor.
Okay. Right.
Well, you start out misdemeanor courtrooms or in traffic court or something. So you learn to try cases with stuff that, if you screw it up, killer's not going to walk free because of a shoplifting case, right?
Yeah.
So that's the proving ground, training ground,
Right.
And you try hundreds of cases almost a day. And so you're learning to think on your feet. You got to think quick. And if you don't, your bosses find out, you're done. I mean, you got to be able to adapt. And that's how they make a determination whether you're going to be good in front of a jury, is how quick you react to situations that occur in the courtroom.
Interestingly, we had an impromptu thought about you sitting down with somebody from the streets. So
is that right?
Yeah. So one of our YouTube favorites, our channel favorites, Akasha, has came. Well, I don't know if he want to go by Akasha or Arsenio. He named after Arsenio Hall.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah, he's named after Arsenio
Is
Hall.
that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was one of my favorites. I loved Arsenio, man. Back in the day.
My name is Akasha. My birth name is Arsenio Williams. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a 3rd generation Avalon gangster Crip. So what that means is my father, aunts, uncles was all 1st generation Crips. And then I'm the baby. So my father is the baby out of his siblings. So all of his kids are the babies of the cousins. So the second generation is my older cousins. Some of my older cousins in their 40s and 50s, and they've been gangbanging since the 80s. So, and then it came to me, my little brother, my sister was able to avoid it anyway. Like Crip gangbanging was like my birthright. My mom's lived in Kansas City, so I went back and forth between Kansas City and Watts, Avalon Garden Projects. That's in Watts. And if you know anything about LA, Watts has always been fucked up. It's never been a good time in Watts. Came a crib. I was going back and forth between Watts and Kansas City. And at the age of 16, I was charged with 5 first-degree murders, 5 armed criminal actions, 2 kidnappings, 2 disposing of bodies, and I was facing the death penalty at 16. But they eventually ended up dropping a bunch of the cases. And at 18, I was found guilty of second-degree murder, armed criminal action. I was sentenced to life in the penitentiary. I went to the penitentiary. They sent me to the worst penitentiary in the state of Missouri at 18. And throughout my time in prison, I probably was one of the most aggressive and violent dudes coming from Kansas City, as far as like born in the 80s. You know what I mean? I caught a lot of major violations, but I never caught another case because I already had a life sentence. I was never supposed to get out. But during the course of my incarceration, I started writing urban fiction books. So I wrote maybe 110 books throughout my time in jail from between 2014 and I came home in 2023. So between 2014 and roughly like 2021, 2022, I wrote 110 urban fiction books. That's not including short stories that went with the book. So altogether, I probably wrote over 250 stories, but actual full books was probably like 100 and something. And in 2021, the Missouri passed a law where it was saying if you're under the age of 18 and you've been found guilty of a crime, you can't be sentenced to a life sentence. After 15 years, you'll be eligible for parole. At this time, I'd already been locked up 20 years. I'd already been in penitentiary 20 years. So as soon as that law got changed, it came up with me having a successful, I made millions selling books in prison. So with me already having the success of the books, y'all have to let me go. So I basically made a complete 180 from being one of the most violent dudes on the streets, one of the most violent dudes in jail. So I basically like did my own therapy via writing the books, and that converted over to them changing the law. And I came home a year later. And since I've been home, within the past 3 years, I came home January 19, 2023. So I came home, I went to Arkansas just to deinstitutionalize and get myself together. And between like September of 2023 until now, I done film. I'm a film producer now. I probably done filmed 8 or 9 movies that I executive produce. And I've been on set for probably like 20, 25 movies that I'm just like a producer on. And I done really kind of like brought the indie film game to Kansas City, and it's been out here shooting movies. But for like years, I was just traveling, going places, learning movie thing, going across the country, shooting movies. And then I brought all of that back to Kansas City. And that's what I've been doing since I came home in 2023.
I mean, that's absolutely mind-boggling. And I'm not saying it because you're here. I'm just telling you the fact that I visited plenty of prisons in my experience as a prosecutor. Not somewhere I'd want to spend an hour. I had a case where I had to go visit somebody in prison, and I was a prosecutor, went through an intensive search, as you know. They put me in a cell as opposed to a visiting area, and they closed the door, and it freaked me out immediately. Like, I can't get out of here. This door is locked. It never hit me as hard as when it went clang. And I said, hey man, the door's locked.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. I wasn't fine. So I can't even begin to imagine in any way, and nobody can unless you've been through this, and the fact that you came out the other side. I mean, I'm dumbfounded. I mean, I wish I'd have known about you sooner, because what a voice you have for rehabilitation, number one, for giving people hope. I mean, as you know, in the community where you're from, one thing that's devoid for most people is hope. What do they have to look forward to? Where are you going? Who are your idols? You know, I mean, who are your leaders? See, you represent, honestly, one of the most strongest leaders for people who think they want to go the other direction. That's a big thing, man. So I got to ask you, what made you turn? I mean, not turn, change or whatever. You can't. You know what? There's words you can't use anymore. I said, "Wow." Somebody said, "How did you transition from a rock star to a prosecutor?" No, don't use transition. Transform, maybe. Okay, so what came about for you while where were you doing time here in Missouri?
Yeah.
What was it that hit you all of a sudden? I mean, what was it?
I'd say the turning point was my one of my best friends getting killed. And it wasn't just so basically every dude that I was around and with on the streets is dead. They all got killed. Nobody that I was with is alive. Nobody that I was with. No, I'll take that back. My uncle, he died, he OD'd, but I don't think that's natural causes though. Yeah, that ain't natural causes. Yeah, that everybody that I was around, I was with, got killed. And one of the last people to get killed was a good friend of mine. And when he got killed, he got shot 11 times in his back with an assault rifle. And I know how he think. I know how he moves. And then as soon as he got killed, it started coming out that it was somebody that we embraced, somebody that we was cool with. So with that, it really had me like suspicious of everybody that I thought was cool. And then it had me second guessing everything. But then there were certain people that I knew was still like, these are still the homies. These are still people that look up to me. This is still, and I just knew like, I can't continue like this because I love these dudes. I love these people that I care about. So I have to figure out a way to open the door for them to be able to walk through. Because I opened the door with the bang and now I have to figure out a way for another door for them to walk through. Because I feel like if you were going to be, I feel like a great leader is only a good follower, because you have to understand what the people that you're leading need and want and desire. And the people that I was trying to lead, they wanted a better life. So I said, okay, let me figure something out where everybody can eat. So I started writing the books. And with the books, when I kept the money, it led to a lot of other stuff. I'm literally was a club promoter in prison. I'm throwing parties on the street where women would be like, hey, go to this party. It's going, I'm not listening to you. How you know? Because it's my party. How you throwing a party? So, but anyway, it kind of opened doors that people that I cared about can go through because of the money that I made from the books. I was able to do certain stuff. And now with me being a film producer, I'm an employer. I employ a lot of people in order to do it. But that was really kind of like the shift when he got killed, because it made me question the people that I thought was loyal. And it's like, damn, y'all would kill him? And he was the dude that's like, anything happened, he's going to be front line, front center. He don't care. He's like, oh, what happened? He's going, if y'all kill him, then that means I know y'all would kill me. I already told on me. You know what I mean? People done already told on me. So the next thing is for somebody that I love or somebody that I'm close to kill me. And I'm like, that's not about to ever be the case.
That's interesting you say that, because I remember as a prosecutor, you know, there's a normal gang shooting where it's just rivals. It's not hatred necessarily. It's just rivals. But there were some cases I had, like the royal family, where this leader, he'd kill anybody. I mean, he'd care less. I mean, and no compunction to shoot and kill anybody. I would wonder to myself, how can he have friends? I mean, if you're willing to kill some person and their kid who you don't even know, what if you get on his wrong side? Would he kill you too? I mean, is that it? How did you feel? I mean, because you weren't, at least as far as I can see, you were a member of a gang or gang related, and you had rivals, right? Mm-hmm. And those rivals were the enemy. They're like soldiers, and you're the one side. And is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. So, whereas if you were just out there killing for the sake of killing, for money, contracts, things like that, you know, And you could care less who you killed. It was just my job.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you find it hard to trust people you're working with? Because what if it was their job to take you out? I mean, they wouldn't think twice, right? I mean,
so it's crazy that you say that because I was raised around like real killers. Like real killers. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally done had people, because I got shot. So y'all forgot, I got shot when I was young. I got shot 4 times. My whole left side got shot. I got shot in the knee, got shot in the back, got shot in my thigh, came out my penis, got shot in the head. The bullet in my head is still here. The bullet in my back is still there. So it's a bullet in the back of my head and it's a bullet like right by my spine. So I can actually feel the weather because the cartilage, because you know cartilage goes around any foreign object in your body. Yeah. The cartilage just started to move. It'll rub against my back, like my head. I can know when it's rain, when it's about to be cold, all of that. But after I got shot, my uncle, who was a savage killer, literally trained me. Like, this is how you kill people. This is how you do this. This is how you get up on them. You got to watch them. This is whoop-de-whoop. You do this, you do that. This is how you load this gun. This is how you do it. You get on them like this. Literally, like, training me, like in the car, all right, get out on him, get on him, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Showing me all of this. But the thing of it was, I never respected hitmen. I never respected people that took people's lives for money. I'm a man of honor. And it's just certain things you shouldn't do for money because this person hasn't done anything to you. Right. This person isn't trying to do anything to you. You literally is about to take somebody's life for some money. And there's no telling how much money or what this person could have done to benefit other people. And you just took that away from them because somebody else was too much of a pussy to go do it themselves. So now they paying you. Yeah. I never respected the dudes that put hits. I never respected the dudes that took hits because of this dude. And now if you in jail and somebody telling on you, then it's kind of like, okay, you couldn't get to him. Right. But if you on the street and you have access to this person, man, what the dude say on training day, you got to put your own work in, homie. You need to go, if you hate him that much, then you go do as crazy as it may sound, but I just never respected that. That's just like some scavenger shit to me.
Yeah, see, like what really motivated at the time, I was 1980, 81 when I became the head of gang unit in Chicago. I got out to L.A. visit with their unit. They had a unit called Crash, Criminal Resource Against Street Hoodlums. Yeah. They had fancy jackets. They wanted me, I said, no, I don't really need a jacket, man. But they wanted to give me one, you know. I went on a raids with them. And they were cowboys. They were different. I mean, these guys were real different. I mean, they were...
It was aggressive.
They were very aggressive. And they would ride in one-man cars. And I said to them, aren't you a little concerned? Well, that's why we have to be the way we are, you know, wear these black uniforms. And because if they were alone and they encountered a situation, they had to like scare the hell out of the people. So they said, which I thought, well, that's not gaining any good community relationships if you're doing that. But one thing that our main goal was this, to get the violent offenders off the street as a prosecutor. And the reason was this. So many cases we had in Chicago, they would shoot at a rival and miss and kill an innocent person. So, you know, that's not right. I mean, you know, and I don't know how it was where you were, but back in the day, these gangbangers were bad shots. I mean, they would just shoot wildly. I had a case where there was a gang fight taking place between two gangs, and a young girl was 15, and a young man who had just come off a leave from the Marines. They got shot right in the head with high-power rifles, and they had nothing to do with it. Mm. And that's what really gets the public really upset, because the innocent's getting killed. So our goal was to go after the violent offenders that are out shooting everybody, not just rivals, but anybody, the gang leaders who had some control over this, and people that are trying to intimidate young kids to being in gangs. And back then they would employ 15, 16-year-olds, which when I started, they were still juveniles. And then the law changed. In fact, I went and helped speak to them about moving them up to the criminal adult system because they knew what they were doing. So how did you view prosecutors from your perspective?
So So I have a funny outlook. So it's like this. I respect prosecutors. I've never said fuck the police in my life. Okay, I have said fuck the police, but I never like that's never been like my feelings towards the police. You know, police might be like, man, fuck the police, man. God damn, they get. But I done said fuck my mom. I done said fuck homies. I done said fuck a lot of people in the moment. Yeah. But I never felt like fuck the police. I never had issues with judges or any of that. Even when I got found guilty and they gave me all that time, I wasn't like, oh, fuck my judge, fuck my prosecutor. Nah, like police, prosecutor, judge, they are necessary in society. You have to have that. And it does something to me when I like see people be so happy, especially black people, be so happy when they see something happen to a police officer. Because as soon as your daughter get kidnapped and raped, you need the police now. Now you need the prosecutor. Now it's, oh, why y'all ain't getting justice for such and such? Justice, nah, hold up. No, you can't have it both ways. You can't say fuck 12, fuck the law, fuck the police, fuck this, fuck that. But then when this happened, oh, it's justice. In order to get justice, you need police, you need prosecutors, you need judges, you need a justice system, you need a judicial system. So I always understood that. I just always felt like I've never in my life dialed 911. Even when I got shot, they just took me to the hospital. Because I always felt like by me living outside the perimeters of the law, that the police aren't for me. Right. I don't pay taxes. Y'all are for the people that pay taxes. Y'all are for the people that vote. That's y'all group. I'm outside of that, and I understood that. But I never had an issue with the police because I understood people that pay taxes, get up, go to work, try to take care of their kids. They need somebody to protect them from motherfuckers like me. Not saying motherfuckers like me personally, but people that live outside of the perimeters of the law.
Right.
Because you're going to have some people that live outside the law that have no morals, and they're going to do anything. And then you have a very small group of people that's like, y'all know what I am, but they don't have anything to do with me. So they leave the innocent. But you most definitely need the police. I've never had a problem with prosecutors, judges, none of that. There's certain motherfuckers that need to be in jail. There's people I've been around in prison. I'm like, well, I hope they don't ever let your ass out. You need to stay in here. Because there's certain people that need to be off the streets, period. So I never had an issue with them.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting case just about that what you're speaking to. I was a young prosecutor. I tried a case. It was an armed robbery of two gay guys. They didn't call them gay at that time. I don't know what they called them, but they were dancers.
Yeah.
And they got stuck up by two guys. And the one guy was a bad guy. He had a bad record. Eventually, the police identified who they were. Case went to trial. Well, you've got two victims, right? One victim breaks up and has nothing to do with the other. They're boyfriends at the time. He won't testify. He's out in L.A., so we got to put a case on two armed robbers, and the one victim is extremely effeminate. I put him on the witness stand. The jury laughed at him.
Yeah.
Back then. I mean, they laughed at him, and he was telling the truth. I had him step from the jury box. They say, look around the courtroom, see if you see the people. And he go, oh, he's right there and right there. And the jury laughed, okay, which I thought was disgusting, you know.
Yeah.
So we finished the case. The jury was out for 25 hours. They were really over days, and they found these guys not guilty, okay? And they some of the jurors hugged the defendants. Well, during the time that jury was deliberating, his lawyer came up to my partner and I, and he said the following. He said, I sure hope you get these guys, because one guy named Blue, he's going to kill somebody for sure.
Mm.
Not guilty, right? 8 months later, he killed a 65-year-old guy who was selling candy out of his house to kids in the neighborhood, shoots them violently. I prosecuted that case too. So as a prosecutor, there's two most horrible things. Number one, prosecuting an innocent man. That is, without question, the worst thing you could ever do. Number two, losing a case, and as a result, the guy not guilty, not that it's your fault necessarily, goes out and kills somebody. Mm-hmm. So I've experienced the second one, okay? And the question I had for you, when you were encountering people in prison, did you ever encounter anybody who thought they got framed by the police or the prosecution?
They thought they got framed?
Yeah, framed. Like they're putting it on him and he didn't do it, and they're intentionally putting it on him or whoever.
As opposed to somebody that was innocent. You saying the police actually went out
he
their
was
way
innocent.
to frame?
Yes, no, the person who conveyed their innocence, but the state put it on him for whatever reason.
I'm saying I probably was, but I wouldn't have gave a fuck. If they would have came to me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your case, man. I don't care. I was one of, yeah. If you wasn't a young gangbanger, I didn't give a fuck about nothing you was talking about in jail, or an older gangbanger.
Okay, so your feeling was they're there for a reason, and whatever it is, and you're not going to dwell on their accusations of being framed or they're innocent.
Nah, I just didn't give a fuck about nobody else's case.
Oh,
it wasn't
right?
so a person could come to me like, man, the police framed me, they set me up, they did this. I don't give a fuck. I was a very aggressive dude. Like, so a dude like that probably wouldn't even want to talk to me.
When did you stop being aggressive?
I never did. I just converted my aggression to the books.
Oh.
If you really just trip over it, like I'm very big on self-analysis. So I look at myself. So I just converted my aggression from the gang banging and the violence over to the books, to write over 100 books, over 250 something stories in less than 10 years. That's an aggressive approach to writing.
That shows passion too.
Yeah.
A lot of passion.
So he can answer the question you had for him.
What?
As far as like being wrongfully convicted or framed.
We was around somebody that was framed?
Wrongfully, basically, my case. Never silhouette, never no odds at the time.
You could talk about it. Yeah, you done did the time.
Yeah, that's why
trying to.
He gonna give you a mic. He gonna give you a mic.
Okay, my question is this: as a former prosecutor, have you ever been involved or dealt with somebody who was basically innocent but still was arrested, charged, and put on trial, and maybe even convicted?
Do you want to go from the standpoint of wrongfully convicted?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I went to trial. So Akasha, this is my brother here. So I went to trial.
Okay. What was the charge?
So my charge was first-degree robbery, armed criminal action.
Okay.
So now I'm not gonna get fully into details, but one thing is that the witnesses in the case said we didn't see a face. We knew silhouettes and body shapes and sizes. So the whole thing of the case is that because they had a personal relationship with the co-defendants in my case, they said if they did it and we know that they did it because they're always together, he did it too.
They brought a case like that?
They brought a case like that.
And you had to go to trial with that?
I went to trial with it and I lost at trial.
No. There was no actual ID. It was a silhouette.
There was no actual ID. I would show you my whole transcripts. They said that they never seen the face. They knew me because of body size, shape, and silhouette.
Well, first of all, I can just say this. As a prosecutor, I wouldn't have put the case on because I would have thought I was going to lose, number one, because how do you win a case when the eyeballs are given that kind of description? The defense attorney would tear them up. I mean, that's how we approached it. Because if I was convinced beyond any doubt in the world, I'm not going to go after somebody who says, oh, it looked like a silhouette. Really? And yet they did that?
They did that and prosecuted me and charged me. Did it?
You got charged for it? Did you give a statement?
No, I didn't get no statement.
Did they need them to talk on you?
So what they did was they found out. So throughout the case, they found out that we knew these people and these people knew us.
The victims?
The victims, so forth. So because I was connected with the family of the victims, they said, well, if these people did it and we know they did it, then he did it too.
Well,
That's how it happened.
Was it a robbery?
It was a robbery.
Armed robbery?
Armed robbery.
What time of the day?
This was, maybe they say it happened 3, 4, maybe in the morning.
Did you have an alibi?
Yeah, I had an alibi.
Where were you?
At home, in the bed, sleep.
With anybody?
Yes. Had an alibi, everything. I'll show you my whole trial transcript. You would laugh at it. You would say, how did he even get convicted? Had a top lawyer, $30,000.
I don't even know how
John
you got
Anthony
charged,
Paserno.
is what I'm saying. I mean, that's the first thing, because I don't know what they call it. What's the prosecutor called here? County attorney, DA?
Assistant district attorney,
Okay,
ADA.
yeah, ADA or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally, like where I'm from, the state's attorney, somebody from their office, the DA, determines whether you should be charged with a felony. I don't even know how they got through that phase. Why would they think you should be charged? Because somebody said you hang with them?
So this is the thing. They said more so it was because the history of knowing the victims.
So what?
So that's where the conviction came from, because, oh, they know him, that they ride with him every day, or they know him, that they would know his body size, his shape, and his silhouette, or whatever they say.
How many other offenders were there besides you?
Two other.
There were 3 altogether?
Mm-hmm.
Did they make statements?
No.
Nobody made a statement, so nobody pointed the finger at each other.
Nobody pointed a finger at each other. Nobody said.
And they got convicted too?
They got convicted too.
From silhouettes?
Well, see, the thing was, they got convicted. I went to trial. So after I went to trial, some other stuff happened. But that's nothing to get into, you know. It is what it is.
What'd you end up getting for that?
I ended up getting 15.
No.
Yeah.
For that?
Yep.
How many offenses before that had you had? A few?
One other offense.
Anything serious before?
Slightly.
But
Well, see, it was slight. So
you look too young to have done any of this.
So what happened was I had brought a weapon to school.
Okay.
Earlier on. You know what I mean? So this was probably a few years early, brought a weapon to school.
Sure.
Had the same lawyer. Same lawyer represented me on that. I mean, I did well on that case. You know, they was talking about, at that time, it was so much going on. They had the Columbines, they had the Columbine shootings, the guns and stuff at school. So it was a big deal. So when that happened, I was on CNN, and Nancy Grace, she spoke on it, yeah, she spoke on the situation. This was so, yeah. So it was a big deal. He did good on that case. You know what I mean?
How old were you
for
then?
the offense, I was 17 going on 18.
Okay.
So, but by the time I took my time, I got what I got for it, I was 18. So, but he did good. I didn't have to do no jail time. I ended up doing probation, SIS, and but.
So you had an offense for something involving a firearm.
Right.
Okay. Did you testify at the second trial? At the trial?
No.
Who testified for you?
Nobody.
No alibi witness?
He told me. At that time, he was like, man, listen, don't get on the stand. Your history, your background, they're going to bring this up. And then, okay, because I had been shot, I had been gang activity. It's a lot of stuff. It's a whole thing.
But why did they call a witness that would say you weren't there?
He said he didn't need her. It wouldn't help the case or something. It was a lot going on. So
I don't know about that, man.
But it was a lack of knowledge too, to the judicial system and how trials go and how that worked. That at that time, I oblivious to anything of the judicial system or how it works. So it was like.
So it's okay. So you went to trial by yourself,
right?
And the only evidence was a silhouette.
No physical evidence. No.
Nothing.
They're just their word against mine.
But you're against your silhouette.
That's it.
Okay, so how long after from the rest of the trial? How long did it take to get to trial? From the time you got arrested for it to the trial, how long was that?
About a year.
Man, and did they offer you any kind of a plea deal?
Oh, they offered a plea. Yeah, the first offer they came with 30 years.
30 years?
30 years. He called my phone.
These people out here ain't playing, are they? So 30 years for that first time?
So yeah. So I ended up bonding out. So I was out. I was fighting the case.
Bond?
Yeah, I was out on bond. So when he called, the first
offer
offer
came What was your bond, by the way?
My bond was $75,000.
So $7,500 to walk?
Yep.
Okay.
So $7,500 to walk. And the first offer he called with probably 2 months after my bond was like, he was like, yeah, I just talked to the prosecutor. The first offer is 30 years. Yeah.
I can't
said, man, I ain't
understand.
taking no
See, it's
30
hard to
minutes.
believe how hot they were so hot to trot over a silhouette that they can't even, the identification, what do they mean by a silhouette? What was the defining?
So they said we came in with do-rag mask on. So
Okay.
anybody know that if you have a do-rag mask, remember the black do-rag mask you put around your head? If you put it over your face, I don't care if it's light outside, you're still not going to be able to see any facial features.
Right.
So they convicted me off of silhouette, saying that the black mask could show the shape of my face.
And you didn't do it. I know I shouldn't ask that question. I'm
Let's
just
say
saying.
I went to trial.
Okay, that's whatever. But I'm just saying it's hard to believe that you got convicted of that.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
wouldn't have happened in Chicago.
Now you look it up.
We would have played
They
that thing
already-
out for next to nothing just to get rid of the case. Because that would, I don't want to lose a case like that.
So to his question, you came across he's definitely came across somebody with that type of case or that type of, you know. So and it's plenty more than that.
Really?
You know, there's plenty more people that I know.
thought
that,
he was saying like that the police went out their way to frame somebody.
Well, yeah, they made it up.
Well,
Well, you
that
hear,
too.
I mean, you see, here's the thing. I don't know whether it happens a lot, and that's why you see it on TV, or it doesn't happen very often. That's why you see it on TV, because they're highlighting a case that doesn't happen that often, or maybe it happens all the time. See, I don't know.
Like when you was talking about Crash, they do that.
Yeah.
They do that all the time. Like Crash will just literally pull up on us and bust us down right on Avalon.
Yeah.
Or on the Fig. Basically what they'll do, they'll literally just strip you out.
Yep.
On the street, right there.
I saw it happen.
Yeah, they'll literally
I was on a
pull
ride
up,
along.
They'll line up 8,
Everybody.
9 people.
Yep.
Everybody strip. Take off everything, and then they're going to take pictures of you to see your
Yep,
gang
and they see your
tags.
gang tattoos and shit. I saw it happen. I mean, I was with a ride along, and they did. I was shocked. I'm like, I said, "Do you guys can get away with this?" There were cowboys out there in L.A. and they saw I was out there.
And they'll frame you. And they used to do the thing where they'll like take this dude from this neighborhood and take him over to that neighborhood.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then when you'll go to L.A. County, they'll take you from one
And put
pod and put you in another pod.
Pod with the rival gang members.
Because they
did-
knew all the politics.
That goes on other places too.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I just never seen any police officers more aggressive than the Crash unit.
no. I remember I mentioned it too. I saw it, man. They had their jackets. They were all proud of that.
Yeah, they had tanks.
They had everything.
They had the because they'll come in your house with tanks.
Yep.
Because I want to say what's his name? The Gates dude. His last name was Gates. He was the
police chief.
Yeah, he was the police chief for a long time.
I met him.
He went and started buying military equipment for the LAPD.
Yep.
When they used to kick in people's houses, you'll see it. You'll just see tanks coming down the street like it's a ride just to serve a warrant.
That was the Marine Corps out there.
Yeah.
That's who they recruited from, man. After Vietnam, everybody came out of the war. They wanted them in LAPD. Every Marine, I mean, I think everybody I ever met was a former Marine, and they were hardcore dudes. They were like, they had to be, we went on a raid. It used to be when you raided somebody's house, you had to wait till the sun was up before you could crash in, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm in the car there was like 6 cars, and they got one guy on a payphone waiting for somebody to call from the Griffith Observatory saying, okay, the sun just came up. And they got the battering ram. So it was Hispanic. So I'm in the car. Cop flips the gun back to me. I go, what's this for? Just in case. I go, these guys are really cowboys. They're handing a prosecutor a pistol out here in the street. They don't know me that well. So I get out of the car. I stay there. They bust down the door, and I could see inside. This is the whole family. They got everybody on the floor, man, little kids. I mean, they're screaming. And guess what happens? The guy they're looking for comes jumping through the screen and the window in the front, and there's me with a gun in my hand.
Mm.
And I'm like, I ain't shooting this guy. I don't care what happens, man.
Yeah.
My hand's like this. Because I'm not shooting some guy. And they finally tackled him. But I know how cowboy they were because I saw it happen. I mean, I was like, ooh, man. I went back to Chicago. I said, I don't know. We ain't going to do it like this.
So my extent to dealing with crash was just getting stripped. We used to call it stripped down.
Yep.
They'll just come and get you, strip you down right there. But I done heard war stories of crash.
Well, how do you think those NWA and them? What do you think them songs came from? That shit was really good. I know it was going down.
Yeah,
I may be white, but I saw it.
Crash was a whole
and I knew this
different-
ain't cool out here. These people are crazy.
Yeah, them crash officers was different. Then
Can I tell one funny story? You'll get a kick out of it. So the first day I show up at the crash unit in LA, and I'm talking to this guy I met that was a lead prosecutor of that gang crime unit. Because I'm there to like see how they do it, you know. So he says, you know, Greg, I'm really busy. I'm putting together a warrant with these guys, and they got their jackets on. And he says, but I'll get you somebody to show you around, right? So this little short Asian guy comes walking by. He's one of their prosecutors. He goes, hey, Lance. He goes, could you show Greg around? So I'm going around with the guy, and he's laughing. He's the funniest guy I ever met. So we get toward the end, and I go, I got to ask you a question. How'd you get a name like Lance? He was a Japanese guy. He goes, well, my parents were in the war, and then they were in a internment camp, you know, and the sergeant was real good to us. When we got out, his name was Lance. So when I was born, right after the war, they named me Lance. His name was Lance Ito, the judge of the O.J. Simpson case. That's who that Lance was. He was the judge, and years later, he became the O.J. Simpson judge. He was the funniest dude I've ever met, though. He was so funny. So most people probably wonder, why is the guy Japanese named Lance Ito? Lance. That's why. That's the story there.
How long was you a prosecutor in Chicago?
Almost 10 years.
From when?
From 1975 to 1985.
So you was there doing all the Caprini Greens and doing all of that time.
Yeah. Larry Hoover, Willie, Jeff Fort. Jeff was cool.
Was you there? Was you around when the Four Corner Hustlers? I heard you talk about the dude with the rocket. Was you there when the Four Corner?
Yep.
I forget his name. I think his name was Angelo something.
Yeah. Well, the Vice Lords at the time were run by the guy named Willie Lloyd.
Yeah.
And they were opposite of the gang. They were like the Crips and Bloods, but they didn't call them Crips and Bloods. They were the opposite, you know. But yeah, I mean, then the Black Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples were rivals.
Yeah.
And the El Rukins. And I spent time at Old Block. Probably heard of that.
Parkway Gardens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those housing units were. My daughter got a visit to Robert Taylor Homes back about 92, 93. Yeah. It was an eye opener for her. Trust me.
Chicago. That's where he took me, not the Sears Tower.
To the Robert Taylors.
Robert Taylor.
They said I heard that the Robert Taylors had like 75,000 residents. It was
sure
like the
did,
biggest,
maybe more, and half of them were gang members.
Yeah.
And Cabrini Green had another gang member. I mean, they ran those buildings. There was a tariff.
Yeah.
You paid to come in and out.
So you was a prosecutor during the sniper era.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who Tony Accardo is?
Yeah.
You ain't never had no dealings with that situation?
No, he was older. You know, he lived out in River Forest. He was the head of the Chicago mob, and then there was Sam Giancana. Yeah. This royal family, they got hooked up with a guy named Joe Ferriola, who was number 2.
Yeah.
Joe Nagall, they called him. And that's how I first came involved with mob itself in the first hand, you know.
Because Tony Accardo's always been my favorite mobster. Because he was low key.
No, he never got in charge of nothing.
Yeah.
He never served a day in jail.
A lot of people don't even know who that is.
He was the Al Capone and Tony Accardo.
Yeah.
But he kept real low key. He wasn't like John Gotti, you know, running around on TV.
Yeah. So I actually got a friend who was a made guy. His peoples was made guys in Brooklyn, and they do not like John Gotti.
No.
They cannot stand John Gotti.
Nope.
Like black people and people outside.
Nope.
Of La Costa Nostra, they'll be like, oh yeah, John Gotti, woo. But people within it was like he fucked the mob up.
They hated
he fucked
him.
the whole thing up.
He put heat on him.
Yeah.
He got that Rudy Giuliani to get really worked up, and they went after everybody across the country at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony never got touched. Classy guy in a way. I mean,
so how did you feel about like the gang leaders like the Jeff Force, the Willie Lloyds, the Larry Hoovers, the David Barksdales, and all of them? Or you really wasn't around for David Barksdale? He would already.
I knew
dead.
David Barksdale.
Yeah.
I mean, The whole deal. And the Latin gang members, too. The Spanish Cobras, Latin Kings, Insane Unknowns, 2 6 Boys. I mean, you had to become an expert on gangs. I mean, and know who was affiliated with who wore the hat right and left, the whole bit. Like, that stuff, I'm sure.
So how was your, feeling towards, the gang leaders? Like, did you, how you asked me about how I feel about prosecutors?
How did I feel about gang leaders?
Yeah.
Okay, I met Larry Hoover, and he was cool. I met him in prison. I actually went and talked to him. Willie Lloyd, Feisler, cool. I mean, they were cool. They were cool. They said, well, you got some balls coming over here and talking with us. I go, what are you going to do, shoot me? Big joke. Jeff Fort. Jeff Fort was very cool. He, they became the mafia in a way. I mean, they ran the drug trade. They ran the gambling. They ran prostitution. That's what they did, okay? I was more upset as a prosecutor with the level of violence they could inflict on their own communities. That's what bothered me, is the fact that get control of your organization. I mean, that's one thing about the crime syndicate. They were pretty good shots. If they wanted to shoot somebody, they shot the right person. These guys were not. And they were the leaders, so it's their job to get control. If they're going to do this stuff, I wasn't a drug prosecutor. I didn't go after drug. That wasn't my thing. It was violent offenders and the leaders who wouldn't, because we pled with these guys. This is your community. They always started out as community organizations. Yeah. I don't know if they did that in L.A., but
they started off with gangs.
They didn't?
Yeah, they was just gangs always from out the gate.
This was like an organization because they would get funding from the federal government for doing certain things. And at times they did. They thought they were Robin Hood or something. But the problem is they bring these young guys in and will get out of control, like violent guys. And they would just shoot indiscriminately in a park with a bunch of people. That was where we drew the line. That's it. And that's why we would focus on some of the leaders because they had control. Get these people under control. And that's how I felt about them. I mean, I didn't have a personal animus against them. I mean, if they would have done what they said they were trying to do to help the community, but they didn't.
You didn't have any involvement in the Larry Hoover prosecution, or you weren't a prosecutor by
No, but I was there when he was in prison when I visited him in 1980, 81. He's still there.
Yeah, I know.
He's there a long time, man. Uh-huh. I know that there's a petition to try to get him out.
I doubt they're going to let him out.
Well, I think they will. I mean, then again, politics play a big role. Like,
cause see that
somebody might let the guy in Minneapolis out that killed George Floyd, but they might not let Larry Hoover out.
Because Larry Hoover had that 21st century vote.
Yep.
That's what really kind of changed everything when he got all those registered voters.
Oh, he had a lot of people.
Yeah, when he got everybody to register to vote.
Because he's straightened out. I mean, he is rehabilitated. Like, look at you. What if they said keep you in forever? What a waste of humanity that is. Yeah. You paid your debt. You did what you were asked to do, and you came out 180 degree, but more than that. Not just a turn, but a success. And I'm telling you something, man. I've never heard anything like it, to be quite honest with you. And I'm real serious that what you've accomplished. And
you talking about you never heard nothing like me? Yeah. I thought you talking about Larry Hoover.
No. What you did, I'm talking about, because I mean, I'm really happy to have met you. Just the fact that you did it. Talk is cheap. Yeah. And you not just rehabilitated, you reformed, rehabilitated, and have something to offer. And that's why the more you can get on shows, the more you can talk to these people. These young people who are 17, 18, looking to do some, say, listen, man, I've been down that road. And you're honest about it. You said, yeah, I was violent. You're telling the truth. You're not sugarcoating. Like, well, I really wasn't. No, I was, but here's what happened. I funneled my aggression into something that ultimately was good for me, and ultimately not good for everybody else. And that's what they need to learn, how to funnel aggression. It's really passion in a way. It's like, I really feel strongly about this. Well, quit feeling strongly about things that aren't going to do good. Do something that could help people.
Let me ask you this. Is it, throughout your years as a prosecutor, is it anything that you regret doing?
Yeah. Seeking the death penalty.
And did you get it?
I did it 5 times.
And so you put 5 people down? Did all of them die?
Only one.
Oh.
I attended it too. And it still bothers me. I mean, it was only 2 years ago. And it was a case, it was a murder, the contract killing in Arizona. And I got a letter, I still have it, from Attorney General, the governor, said, Gregg Owen, Mr. Owen, you are cordially invited to be a witness at the, cordially invited, which I thought was sick to say it like that. And so I called the prosecutor in Arizona that I worked the case with, and he didn't know if he wanted to go either. But the woman who survived, she was real old. She couldn't go. So we figured, well, we'll just go on her behalf, so to speak, because we knew her. She was way, way too old, 86 or so. So a month before the execution, NBC in Arizona asked me to come out there, and they did an interview. It was a 3-day series. It's still we can still find it, called The Last Hitman. And it was about how the Chicago mob was involved in this case. And so we did the thing, and then I thought it's still one. I didn't think they'd execute him. I thought somebody would be a reprieve or something at the last minute. The guy was 78, he'd been there for 43 years on death row in Arizona. And so when it got right down to it, and the Supreme Court denied it and this and that, I thought, well, that's my next book. See, I'm writing a book about this king. I said, well, you talk about a conclusion. I mean, how many people can prosecute a case and be there? And I wasn't looking forward to it. It was just, I want to know how I felt. What did I feel like? Because I felt really upset the night before I asked the death penalty. I went to see my minister at church. Am I doing something bad here? Do we have a right to do this? So I did it, and I did it well. And I don't know if you know this, but when you do it once, the second time it's not quite as hard. Third, fourth time it's not hard at all. But because you're not even really appreciating what's the significance of what you're doing. You never really think it's going to happen. Well, now I'm sitting there, it's happening, right? It's 24 people in a little room, very small, tight, little. They had eight seats, and there were 3 levels, so it was smaller, a lot smaller than this. And the regimentation they went through before they did this, it was scary, 5 guys all dressed in the same outfit, black things over their faces, their same hats, khaki pants, black gloves. I mean, the guy go 1, and they go, and they take off certain chains. And then he takes certain Velcro. I mean, it was like watching the Marine Corps at arms, right? That made me upset. I said, this is stupid, and he's down and then all of a sudden the curtain opens and there he is. And they botched it. They went to do it. They went to put it in his arm, and they couldn't find a vein. And so they went for his femoral artery, and they missed, and the blood started squirting. And it got these nurses all full of blood. They had to close the curtains. 2 people passed out. I'm like, this is the sickest thing I've ever seen. Just the whole process. It's like, what? And he's laying there, and they got him all mic'd up. You could hear him plain as day. And there's a female minister, priest at his head. She's praying. Finally, they get him cleaned up. The warden comes in and makes a big announcement. There's no appeals. Nobody's called us, so we're going to carry out the order of the court. And the guy looked at us, and he goes, let's get it on.
The dude is about to die.
He said it just as plain as day. He goes, let's get it on. And then he says, first of all, why y'all motherfuckers wearing all that? I know we are. The guys with the garment.
Yeah.
He said, I know every one of y'all. And then they started, and they had a camera on these 3 plungers. One, each one went down, you could see it. I said, this is sickness. I mean, we shouldn't be doing this to people. This is not right. This is the government, and we're showing this is an exhibition. Mm-hmm. And the people were there. They were just friends of the governor or somebody, They were asking us for autographs. That to me was the sickest thing I've ever heard somebody say. Could we have your autograph? Some guy's ready to get executed, and they want my autograph. I said, please. And the guy next to me, the other prosecutor, I can get chills when I think about this now. He said, man, I am totally against the death penalty. And I am way against it now. Mm-hmm. It's not right. We don't have a right to do that to people. I don't care what anybody says. We do not have the right under law to take somebody else's life. Life is sacred and precious. They may have done something. They're going to pay for it, and they're going to pay someday when they go wherever they go. But we don't have a right to do that on somebody's behalf.
So I got a death row story. So I was in Bonne Terre, Missouri. Bonne Terre, Missouri is where they kill the people. And I was in the cell with a dude when he got served his death warrant. You know they bring you a death warrant. So me and this dude actually got cool. He was a cool dude, old dude. And they come to the cell. When they come to the cell, they come and they call them cert. You know, the cert where they put on the armor and they got the shield, they got the helmet, they got all of that. So they come to the cell, it's probably like 4 or 5 of them. And they say his name and his number. They like come to the door. He already knew what it was. I didn't know what was going on. And they read him his warrant. Like, yeah, you got a warrant from the governor of Missouri. You're supposed to be executed at 12:01 a.m. on such and such, such and such. We're here to serve you your warrant. We need you to cuff up. And then they open the door. They turn around. They cuff him up. They put him in shackles, and then they walk him out.
Yeah.
But when they came to the door, we just sitting there talking, watching some music videos or something. They knock on the door. They turn on the light. He see him. I'm like, man, what the fuck they on? He already knew. Like, man, they coming to get me. I'm like, man, what you just do? I'm a shit talker. Man, what you just do? Something. He's like, nah, man, they probably about to read my death warrant. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, you know I'm on death row. I said, yeah. I'm young. You know, I'm like 19, 20. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, man, a death warrant is from the governor. They about to kill me tomorrow. So I'm like, for real? And it's not funny, but this is kind of funny. Because, like, if you in the cell with somebody and they take them to the hole, you like, hey, man, what you want me to do with this? What you want me to do with your property? What you want? I'm going to holler at you, see you later. I don't know what the fuck to tell him. This conversation was so awkward because he like, yeah, they about to come and get me. So I'm looking
man.
Like, you want me to pack your canteen up? You want your food? What you like? I don't know. At the time, it was like, damn, this is fucked up. But I just try to find humor in shit to see. I just didn't know what to tell him. I can't tell you I'm gonna see you later. I can't be like, hey man, you be cool, you be easy. None of the stereotypical goodbyes. I'm just looking like, damn. He like, yeah, man. And then he's not telling me what to do with the shit. He got other stuff on his mind.
I'm sure he does.
So I'm just like, man, what you want me to do with this shit? Like, you got food and shit, these clothes. Like, what do you, like, how did this even go? Well, he go to the door, they cuff him up, put him in shackles. He don't say nothing else. And then they just walk him out. But this is how crazy Bonne Terre was. So it's always a party when they execute somebody in the penitentiary.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So they throw a party when they execute somebody in the penitentiary. I don't know if they do it anywhere else, but
yeah, they do stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah. So when they came to get him, the next day they'll always lock us down early.
Yep.
Like around 3-4 o'clock,
Yep.
They'll lock the whole penitentiary down. But we knew somebody was dying because they'll always give us a certain meal. They'll give us hamburgers. They give us cheese. We never get cheeseburgers. Ever do they put cheese on the hamburgers. They'll give us cheeseburgers, tater tots, and homemade chocolate chip cookies. That's when you know somebody's getting killed. And they'll shut the yard down roughly around 3 or 4 o'clock. And then the COs actually have a party. Not like I never been to the party, but I heard about it. They'll have like a celebration or the state won, and they'll have music and little snacks and all of this old type of shit, and then they'll kill them. And they'll another thing they did, they cut the cable off.
Yeah.
They always cut the cable off, so we don't know when, or because it's going to be on the news about them getting executed. They'll cut the cable off for probably about 24 hours. You can't watch TV. Then they'll feed you this, and then they'll lock us down, and then they'll come and get the person. Because in Missouri, there's 5 levels, custody levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the highest custody level. But right before you're about to die, that last 24 hours, they consider you a level 6. And when you're a level 6, everything has to be locked down when they move you from your cell to wherever you're going, and then they'll execute you. But I was in the cell with a person when they executed. I didn't know if they killed him, but I know he didn't come back to the cell. And the next day, we got the cheeseburgers.
Well, and you know what happened then, man.
Yeah, so they had killed him, but that was hella. So when you talking about, I didn't see it, but just like from
You saw the part.
yeah,
before.
you saw the part.
I saw.
that
We're
did-
giving the whole story
yeah.
basically. I just want to tell you, it's almost like an honor. I know that sounds corny, but I'm not a corny person, so I can say it. To meet you, because I always wondered myself as a prosecutor, what would happen? You know, I prosecuted plenty 18, 19-year-old young men, and they were given lengthy prison sentences. And now for myself, I ever often wondered, you know, I wonder what really happened. You know, what did they do with themselves? Did something happen to them? Did they change to get better? I did feel sorry for the families of the bad people, the defendants. I did. I felt really bad for the victims, but I also, you know, the mom, everybody's got a mom. And that used to make me feel really sad because they lost someone too. So to see someone who came through all that and was prosecuted by a prosecutor like me for committing a murder like I did, and that they took what happened to them and turned it around so dramatically and offer something for society that's very important, especially today, more than ever. I want to applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say something real quick too. Thank you for being even willing to sit down with somebody we said is an ex-gang member, cause you not from here and you don't know what could go down by you. You know, he may have some type of attachment to that. So for you to even have the courage to do that, I mean, I know you dealt with a lot of stuff, but you in a whole nother city, and so that was dope. We threw the idea and you was like, bring it on. So that was dope. So in closing, we're gonna ask you to leave us marked out for the leave the world marked out with some words.
Did you say what?
Marked out, like just some words for the minds and the hearts, for people to stick to their minds and their hearts.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, just the camera talking to the world.
Okay. So I want to say something that I've learned over my lifetime, particularly as a prosecutor. And that says, it's this: obstacles don't mean defeat, as we've heard. They mean sometimes you have to work harder, think differently, and never give up. And I think that's important. And, you know, as we say, character isn't revealed when life is easy. It's revealed when doing the right thing can cost you a lot. And I think people have to remember that, and don't hide your integrity. You know, don't be different when people aren't seeing you. You got to show it too. So I think that my thought about everything I've been through is that we're all people. We make mistakes. We try to do the right thing, and we, you know, hopefully are led by a higher being. In my case, it's with the Lord, and I've always conducted myself that way, and it's really done well for me, and I've always believed so. And even as a prosecutor, you know, my biggest fear was, am I prosecuting an innocent person? And I couldn't live with that. So I felt good about what I did, and I felt good about what I heard here today. I couldn't feel better. So I'm pleased that I had the opportunity to be with you all here today. Thanks again.
The goal is to leave a lasting imprint on their minds and their hearts. We pray you've been indelibly marked.
Oh, the last, you should let me
Good
get a
job,
last
man.
word too.
What's blowing me off?
Yeah. No. I was gonna say something funny. I had something funny I was about to say.